Wildlife education, so we're sending it over to Lou, who has some interesting animals this morning.
So Ron DeArmond is here from the Academy of Wildlife Education, and they brought a lawyer with you today. I mean, what did you bring with you today?
Oh, we're going to talk about a few different topics today, and we focus on animals that are native to Iowa and North America, and obviously this is not one of them.
It's not?
No, contrary to most beliefs, these are not indigenous to
Now, what exactly
North
is that? People are probably guessing at home.
Oh, sure, right. This is a red-tailed boa constrictor.
A red-tailed boa.
Right, they're native to South America. And what we're going to talk about today are three different types of animals and their threats to the Iowa ecosystem. Okay. And the snakes and animals exotics people are concerned about, because when they get themselves a pet, and this is typically where you're going to find an animal like this, is at your pet shop, and then it gets big like this and then they don't want it anymore, they tend to just release them. And again, that's dogs, cats, snakes, you name it. It's just, there are no bad animals, it's just bad pet ownership and knowing what you're getting into.
Now, a snake this big, what type of creatures does it eat?
Well, anything he can wrap himself around. I mean, this snake here could eat definitely a good-sized rabbit.
Which means
small dogs, small cats, stuff like that.
So it's not a good idea.
Well, and again, an educated pet owner is going to do just fine with that. I mean, they're actually, for a pet, it's very easy to take care of. But the problem is when you release these things, they don't know how to survive in the wild. And there's a big fear that of the big snakes in the ecosystem. And this animal here just would not survive in Iowa. The Burmese pythons and all those snakes, you release them into the Iowa ecosystem, by winter they're going to be dead because they're going to freeze to death.
Okay.
However, the problem is in Florida, Texas, where these animals can thrive, because again, that's fairly typical of their home type of ecosystem.
And the food source is abundant.
Tons of food sources, and that's why you have the problems that you have in Florida. So this would be considered an invasive species. It's not supposed to be here. It was brought in, and then some of the animals come here on ships. They're flown in. I mean, I've talked to people in the Postal Service where insects have come from the Northwest to Iowa. They're not supposed to be here, and they're just hitchhikers. So hitchhiking is another way that these animals can get here. You see that now as far as with zebra mussels and stuff like that, ash boars. Hitchhiking is a way that these animals
attached to a boat somewhere else, and they bring them back here.
And then again, the emerald ash borer is getting into the wood piles. You bring that in across, and then that gets here. It's the same thing with these animals. Some of them did come over from in shipping containers from overseas, but the pet trade's the biggest way that these animals get here. Then people don't want them, and then they just release them, and that's just not a good
But this
thing.
guy here would not survive in Iowa's climate, correct?
Can't survive. Again, he's
so sorry, red tail.
He's not going to survive.
Make it, so
right, no doubt.
You have to stay inside.
Right.
And he's starting to shed right now too, so he's growing a little bit, so that's good.
Yeah, he's a male. He's about 6-7 feet. He might get a little bit longer, put on a little bit more weight, but again, they're a very easy animal to work with. And in the proper hands, they do just fine. So we'll pit him back, and then we'll get you out another one.
Now, how about another species? You're going to be talking about one that looks like it's starting to creep into the state, which I never would have guessed.
Well, there's another thing that we call dispersing animals, and we have to decide if we're going to allow species that are not historically native to Iowa to disperse into our state.
What do you mean allow?
We could stop them through hunting and stuff like that. We can make sure that these animals, as some people would say, are stopped at the borders.
Okay.
The thing is that the ecosystems are changing, and animals are adapting. And so, for example, some people think that mountain lions don't belong in Iowa because there's no mountains. Well, that's ridiculous, because they're a cougar, and cougars are historically native to the state of Iowa. And so with this next animal that we bring out, and so should be coming around the corner any second now.
I hear scratching.
I hear scratching. I hear digging. This is, again, something that you would never think would be in the state of Iowa.
This is in Texas, usually.
Texas speed bump. This is an armadillo. Armadillos are native to the South. However, they are considered indigenous to Missouri now.
Oh, really?
Missouri DNR. Missouri considers them a native species, and there's been reports of them getting into southern Iowa. So the question is do we allow this animal to disperse into southern Iowa as it's adapted to the changing ecosystems.
Now, why would you not want an armadillo?
Well, and again, they're an insectivore, which is a cool animal to have around. They're not going to hurt anything. You know, they eat basically worms. That's what we feed this guy.
Come to Altoona, there's all kinds of worms.
Oh, I was going to say your fishing buddy, as far as if you need to dig up worms. Yeah, they're not going to have a negative impact on the ecosystem.
Okay.
So why wouldn't we? But again, these are things that are happening now in North America. And in Iowa, we face these questions as far as, do we allow new species into the state? It's something that we'd have to manage.
Okay.
How would we manage it? Is it going to be considered a nuisance animal? You know, where do we classify something like this?
I'm sure other creatures would find them food source.
I mean, feel that texture. He's going to be a tough one to get through. It's like a living football is what it's like.
Okay.
But again, yeah, they're going to have a place in the ecosystem. They're great for, you know, aerating the ground. They're going to keep insects under control. But these are just some of the concerns.
But they are making their way up there, and they are adapting, and they're getting close, if not already in the state of Iowa.
Right, and that's the one thing that we don't understand is why are these animals adapting to the changing ecosystem? But they are, and that's just the way wildlife works.
Okay.
Animals don't wake up in the morning and read the field guides and go, I can't cross the road because I'm not supposed to be there. They're going to go where they're comfortable. If they can adapt to that new habitat, they will, and that's why some animals are dispersing. Other animals can't make that adaptation, like we've talked about before. The Canadian lynx can't adapt or won't adapt. That's why their numbers are declining.
Right.
These numbers are increasing because they're adaptable.
Okay,
so
these guys are making their way into the state of Iowa now.
Right, and this is a dispersing
Never would have
animal.
guessed that.
Right, so we might have armadillos native to the state.
All right.
All right, we'll get
trade the armadillo in.
Trade the armadillo in, and then the next animal is the most dangerous animal to the Iowa ecosystem. This one is
Look at
a
that fierce beast.
huge problem.
This is a kitten.
This is a kitten.
This is a kitten.
Right.
How can this be
the
a
most
threat
dangerous?
This one here.
This is it.
Hey, buddy.
Out of everything we've brought, this is the most dangerous animal to Iowa ecosystems. It's a domestic cat. And this is a Bengal, the breed. But look, we're having the biggest problem in pet ownership is people realizing that pets are domestic and they need to be kept indoors. When people get cats in the United States on any given night, there's 100 million feral cats. People just letting them loose because they think they need to go back and be born free and go out and mingle in the wild.
Eat the mice in the barn.
Well, the thing is when they go out, they compete with the native species for space, territory, and food. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there's other animals that will eat these things.
Okay.
Birds of prey, the hawks, the eagles, the owls, coyotes, foxes, bobcats will all eat domestic dogs and cats. So you just can't have them out there running at large. And then if they do become feral, which means that at one time could have been somebody's pet, they didn't want it anymore, they just turn it loose, they start to inhabit areas that the wildlife would normally have, and so there's competition. So domestic animals, pets, are probably the #1 problem we face as far as wildlife management goes. Right.
I never would have guessed it.
Feral cats are a huge problem, and so
I thought maybe for a second you meant Willie Ferrell's cats. No.
Possibly.
Okay.
You just never know.
All right.
But again, domestic cats are companion animals, and so what people need to understand is the best relationship you can have with your companion animals is to be a companion.
Like this here.
Develop that relationship, spend more time with it, keep it indoors, let the wildlife be wild, and enjoy your little representation of the wild in the house, and that's where your cats come in.
You just like to be held. You don't want to go run around outside, do you?
That's what we prefer.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Now tell everybody about your place, because this is especially for this next week that Jason's promising all this rain. Need to do something with your kids, or need to do something yourself. Head over to Merle Hay Mall.
Absolutely. It's always 72 and sunny at the Academy of Wildlife Education. We're open during regular mall hours. We're getting ready to build out our new bird of prey enclosures.
Oh, really?
So we've got some birds of prey coming in, and programs every day. So whenever the mall's open, we're open. And and come out and enjoy the wildlife that's native to your backyard.
My guess is you're not going to be able to see wild creatures like this here. You're going to be able to see other creatures, correct?
Right. We've got different programs. This is
These
actually
are just
used
too wild for you, right?
Well, again, we do use this cat in our program when we talk about these species, school programs and stuff. But yeah, if you want to come out and see Cuddles, the boa constrictor, come on out.
This cat is just chilling. Look at this.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Just relax. All right, buddy. All right.
There you go.
Well, very laid back, much like this. What's this little kitty cat's name?
Whatever you want to call it.
You don't even have a name for
Don't
this
have a
cat?
name for it.
Go to the Academy of Wildlife Education. You can give this kitty cat a name, this Bengal kitty cat a name, okay?
Spots.
Spots. Of course, you would name him Spots.
Absolutely, kitty kitty.
We'll be right back. He's so relaxed. This is a great day.